my friends, welcome back to another tutorial. I hope you're all keeping very well out there. This week, a still life. A nice wine bottle with a glass of red wine next to it. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? We could do with a glass of red wine. I could anyway. I have a coffee. That's what I have. I have my canvas set out behind me. A little sketch, I don't know if you can see there. A small sketch of a wine bottle and a glass. Let me show you the picture we're painting today. That's quite nice now, isn't it? I think that will make a lovely composition and a nice little bit of practice for you to try different things. We do a lot of landscapes here on the channel, but I think every now and then a still life like this is very refreshing. It's very refreshing. So let's crack on and have a bit of fun with this. You're all doing very well, by the way. I see a lot of you sending me emails on your work and you've come along so far. You really have. It's amazing how much you've progressed over the years. It's fascinating to see, isn't it? And you begin to realise as you get better how easy those techniques really are. You know, back when you first started, they seemed very difficult, painting trees and bushes and snow and all of that. But as time goes on, you realise that if you just kind of simplify it, that's actually the best way to paint, I think. So let's go and have a bit of fun with this. I'm excited. This may be a two-part. It will be a two-part. I'll paint the background, I'll paint the wine bottle, and then last, and we can take our time then in part two with the wine glass. And I'll try and simplify it. I'll show you in easy terms how to just paint the impression of a glass and the reflection on a glass. So let's go. Let's have a bit of fun with this one. Here's my studio. It's an absolute mess at the moment, my studio. There's stuff everywhere. Look at this. I have paintings. There's a little treadmill over there in the corner. That's for my wife, not for me. I'm too lazy. I'm far too lazy to be getting on treadmills. Paintings, all that kind of stuff. It's a very, very messy studio. But I think that's a good sign. A messy studio is a productive studio. Don't you agree? So let's have a bit of fun with this. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Like and subscribe, okay? If you enjoy these videos, help me out. You're helping the channel grow, okay? And reach more audience. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, everyone, let's go and have a bit of fun with this painting. Let's see what we can create. Something nice and colourful. Lovely splash of red in the middle of the picture there. That's lovely, isn't it? So I have masking tape going across just to give me a nice clean line. I have a sketch of my bottle and a rough sketch of my glass. I had to do it a few times, but I'm going to be painting over the glass with my background, okay? We will leave the bottle, we'll paint around the bottle, but we will paint over the glass. So we have that colour going right through the glass. So colours, let's look at colours. I see a kind of a pinky brown, a greeny grey going on. So there's bits of green, grey, bits of browny shades going through the background. Let's see if we can have a bit of fun with this. I have titanium white, Naples yellow, burnt umber, lamp black, magenta and phthalo blue. I think that's all I need. I have some thinners, which is linseed oil and turpentine, mostly turpentine, okay? Some tissue. I did rub some linseed oil on the background here, just because it's so big. It helps the paint move around. So just take some linseed oil on your tissue like that, and a quick rub. That just oils the background for you. That's all it is. It's a little bit of, oiliness and help the paint smooth, flow nicely across the canvas. I'm going to take my big flat brush, synthetic brush, all synthetic brushes, okay? This is what I use. I keep getting questions on which brushes I use. They're soft semi-synthetics, okay? Look, lovely and soft. Just basic cheap brushes, nothing expensive, my friends. Don't go to too much trouble. Let's dampen the brush very slightly. Let's make a nice warm colour for this. I see, now just look at the colours you see. If you see a warm brown, make a warm brown. Let's take burnt umber, some white. The white is here primarily to make the paint thick and opaque, okay? Then we'll take some black. Now this is a nice dark background, I like this. Black, let's take a bit of magenta into that. Then again, a bit of burnt umber. Now, it's a kind of a grey, browny shade. But that pink just warms it slightly, you see? I hope you can see all this okay now. Let's try. Okay, I'm going to go with that for now. Let's just pop a bit of that on there. This is what I would call the sort of background filling in shade. So I'll put this on, then I start adding shades to it. Let's just cut around the bottle. Right down. So a nice warm, browny sort of a grey shade. Let's mix up some more of that. A little bit of thinners again. More white, more black, more magenta, and some burnt umber. Now this is probably slightly cooler, okay? But look, that's fine. It's a nice sort of a pinky kind of a grey. I will go over the top half of the bottle. Look. I just find that's much easier sometimes. Instead of trying to paint around little things, I generally leave the big shapes as they are and I just cover the rest. Now, while I'm doing this, I'll make sure my lines are nice and kind of straight and they are what I need. Just roughly. Again, don't be too particular with all of this. So let's just fill this in. Now already my linseed oil has started drying into the background, but it still helps. It helps the paint move nicely. Now I will stop around here, I think. Let me mix up a little bit more of that. A little bit of black, a little bit of brown. I do see a lot of pinky shades in this background. So a bit of pink, a bit of black, maybe a hint of white and a tiny touch of phthalo blue. Now that's going to start lightness, you see. Let's just put that lighter shade right through the glass. Let's just completely forget about the glass, that it's even there. Okay, right now there's no glass in the picture. Only a bottle. Now I'm softening all of these together. We kind of go over to a more greeny shade then, don't we, as we go across. Now I will darken spots. I just want to get the basic shades on the canvas. That's all. Let's take some phthalo blue, which is a very transparent colour, so you need to make this colour opaque. If I put this straight on, it's going to be very see-through, okay, very transparent. So a bit of white, again, it just thickens it up. Then some burnt umber. We can get a bit of black. Just going to mess around here now with some colours, okay? So black, blue, little burnt umber, little Naples yellow. That Naples yellow will give us that kind of greeny shade that we can see. Okay? Now, I'm thinking more Naples yellow and white. Now, a tiny touch of thinners, just to thin it ever so slightly. Okay, I'm going with that. I'm happy enough with that. I'm going to fill that area in with this shade. Crisscross, crisscross, just whatever you feel you need to do to cover your canvas. That's all. You just do whatever you feel you need to do. You'll bring some of that colour across here and there. Look, picking up different shades, blending all of this together very nicely. So we're getting there. You see what I mean? We're getting there slowly. Let's take another bit of thinners now and mix up another bit of this lovely colour. Blue, Naples yellow, a little bit of burnt umber. We could even go lighter. Look, we could even add a bit of a brighter colour into this, just for a bit of contrast. I think would be nice. Put a bit over here. Look, let's just dance around on the canvas. Create some nice shades. Bit of that colour over there. So you can see now it's all bouncing around, isn't it? Let's get a softer shade. A bit more brown in there. I want to get a softer shade for up here. So take a bit of brown there now, a bit of white, soften that in there. Again, bit of burnt umber, bit of white. You see how I'm being just very loose with my background and my colours. You know, I'm not sitting and thinking too much about what colours I'm putting on. I'm just getting colour and putting it on. That's all I'm doing, okay? Have some fun with this. Now I'm going to take some white, some magenta, a bright pink. I'm going to pop a bright pink in here, just here and there. Maybe a bit more magenta. I think, you know, pink will bounce off of the red wine very nicely. So I think, yeah, just a little bit of pink here and there. Scratch it in. Don't be too particular with all of this. That'll just help the composition. I think it will. Now, even into that, we'll take some white. Just pop some white in there. It's all about creating a moving background. A background which could be a very thick plastered wall, or nice wallpaper or something. You know, it's all about, you see, it's just about bringing colour in. Creating rough random shapes on that background. Now I'm going to take some burnt umber and magenta. And I'm going to start popping a little bit of that in here and there. You know, I basically just look at the background on the picture. I look at what colours I can see. And if I see a pinky brown, I'm just going to mix a pinky brown and pop it in here and there. You know, have a bit of fun. Have a bit of fun with it all. But at the same time now, I want to kind of make a nice transition from the warm to the cool. So I'm kind of transferring the colours across from one side to the other. A little bit of burnt umber, a little bit of black, a little bit of magenta. I'm going to start getting a bit darker. I need more burnt umber on my palette, don't I? Let's grab some burnt umber. There we go. Okay, let's continue on. Now, is the brightness okay on this? It's not too bright, is it? Let's get some magenta and burnt umber. And I'm going to start adding that rich warmth in over on this side. Again, look, transfer it across, bring it across into the greeny colour. That just brings your painting, brings your background together. Let's get some black, burnt umber. It does get quite dark up around here, doesn't it? Again, pick up some burnt umber, add a bit of that in. More burnt umber again, into this pinky shade. I'm just, you know, adding darks in here and there. Help it darken up. I want to really darken down this side over here. I'm going to get some black and some magenta. That's a wonderful colour. Black and magenta really do make the most beautiful, deep, blacky pink. They really do. So don't be shy, come on. Bring it across ever so slightly. I'm just having a lot of fun with this now at the moment. That's all. Just loads and loads of fun. I'm going to try magenta and a bit of blue. I'm going to make a nice deep purple. I love a bit of purple in a shadow like this. It just really picks up, brings out the colours. You see what I mean? Doesn't that just lift the shadow? More blue, more magenta. Maybe a bit on the more bluey side. You see how I'm just flicking this across very, very randomly, right across the painting. Add a bit in over there, just to carry it across. And then magenta, bit of burnt umber again in there. Even burnt umber with the phthalo blue. Gives us a kind of a rich, dark, greeny shade as well. Black and brown up in this corner. I want to get a very dark corner up there. Swishing my brush around in all different directions. Now I think that's okay for a background. We don't need to go absolutely crazy with this. If you feel you have enough done, then you have enough done. Then just stop, you know. I'll take my blender brush and I'm going to swish around on all of this, soften all of this together. Make a nice soft background, okay? Let's lose all the brush strokes out of all of this. There we go. Nice and soft. Now you can leave the brush strokes if you like. If you like brush strokes in a painting like this or a background like this, do just leave the brush strokes. But I think a nice soft background will be very fitting for this type of a subject. That'll help the details and the highlights stand out more later on. Now, how is that? Now it's up to yourself how far you want to go with softening. I'm going to keep softening this. I want this to be nice and soft. Really soft. I'm kneeling down very, very, very hard now on my blender brush just to get this really blended together. And then very lightly across, soften away some of those marks. There we are. Done. I'm happy with that. Very, very happy with that. Next, we peel off our masking tape, revealing a nice clean line. Look at that. That's nice now, isn't it? And I need to get more colour. I'm going to take more magenta. By the way, I'm using a mix of oil paints here. I'm using Old Holland for some of them and Winton for other colours, okay? I like mixing different brands like this. Some brands like the Old Holland are very good, but I love the Phaylo blue in this brand. So I kind of mix and match brands together. And that's a good thing. Let's get this dark table, or whatever it is, painted in. I'm going to start with a deep purple. You can see there's kind of a deep purple in that, isn't there? Let's take Phaylo blue, plenty of magenta. A little bit of white again, just to thicken it up. A little bit of black. That might not be far off. Okay, maybe a bit more magenta, just warm it slightly more. Another touch of black. I'll go with that, I think, my friends. Now I just need to get a nice crisp line up there. And it's difficult with oils to get a crisp line. So it needs to be on the slightly thinner side. And again, don't worry if this is not absolutely perfect, okay? It's a painting. It's not supposed to be perfect. All right? It's a painting. Let's make it a painting. Let's get a bit of burnt umber and black in the back here. Darken that down. It's quite dark in the back there, isn't it? Come around the bottom of our bottle. Now, let's go back to that purpley colour. Phaylo blue, a bit of magenta, tiny touch of black, maybe a touch of white. Let's get more magenta. It needs to be more on the blacky pinky kind of shade. Again, I'm going right through the wine glass, okay? The wine glass is not even there. Now we have that done. Let's start adding some colour into this. At the moment that looks very bluey, doesn't it? So we need to tone that down slightly. It's a bit too blue for me. So I'm going to go with magenta and burnt umber. I'm just going to tone that down with a bit of magenta and burnt umber, okay? So let's go at the back here, soften a bit across there, a bit here and there. Again, it's just here and there. Tone that down. Then I'm going to I'm going to get more burnt umber on my palette. I don't want this to be completely different to the top. I want this to be subtle. It needs to be subtle as well. So I'm going to take a hint of burnt umber with phthalo blue and a little bit of white. Okay, what I'm going to do is add this sort of slightly mucky, greeny shade, maybe a bit of Naples yellow. I'm going to add this little mucky, greeny shade in as well, just to suggest that it's reflecting the wall colour. So whatever colour is up on that wall, I just want it to reflect a little bit. Now, we need to be a bit more substantial, I think, with our colours, a bit more impactful. Let's take thick yellow, Naples yellow, thick white, and let's just pop a little bit of that in. Let's go across here first. Okay, bit of phthalo blue, Naples yellow. Let's add plenty of that greeny colour in. I'm going to just kind of make this table feel like it's reflecting the wall. So this table is saying to me that it's like a mirror finish, okay? And I want to show that it's like a mirror finish. So I want to try and reflect some of the colours from up top, if you understand what I mean. A little bit of magenta and burnt umber as well. A bit of a pinky brown shade going on here and there as well, look. And when this really comes to light is when I reflect the wine glass and the bottle later on. That's when this will really come to life, and you will see, yeah, it actually looks like a mirror reflection. I'm going to get some magenta. I can see there's even a hint of a very soft purple in there as well. Tiny bit of blue, tiny bit of magenta, and there's a hint of a soft purple going through this. Now over at the back, we need to be nice and dark with that, don't we? So let's take some black and magenta. Nice thick paint on the brush. Let's just dance around again. You see what I'm doing? I'm just sort of dancing around. And we can get in some burnt umber with some black. And then I'm just going to pick up some thick black on its own and just, again, dance around. You can just have a bit of fun with this. And that's the lovely thing about these types of backgrounds. You can just have some fun. You know, you can really go to town with all of this. Make it what you want. Now, Naples yellow, bit of phthalo blue. Just want to add a bit more of that greeny kind of a shade in here and there. And maybe some Naples yellow with white over here. Again, just bringing out the colours. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it at that. Again, the next thing I'm going to do is soften all of this together, okay? Excuse me. I'm going to soften all of this together very softly. I want this to look like it's reflecting. Now, you won't notice it's reflecting anything until I put in the reflections of the bottle and the wine glass. It's only then it'll trick your mind into thinking that it's a reflective surface and it's reflecting all the colours everywhere. That's only when you'll see it. So bear with me until the very end of the video and you will see what I mean. It'll suddenly come to life when you paint in those reflections. No, so I think that's okay. I'm going to stop at that. We are 20 minutes in and we've all this done already. I think I'll start the wine bottle. The wine bottle will be fun. I'm going to take, Now, ideally, I should let the background completely dry. But for some reason, I've no patience like that. I like to dive straight in. I'm going to go right in. I'm going to take some Phaylo blue and lamp black and lots of it. Maybe a touch of magenta. Okay, and there's a bit of thinners in this as well. Let me have a look. This is a very, very blacky colour now, okay? It's a very deep blacky, kind of a purpley shade. It may look black to you. It is quite black, but our highlights will stand out in a moment. Let's start painting the curves. I want to get the curves just right. This is the tricky part, for me at least. Trying to get the shape just right is very tricky. You need to get a fine, sharp edge on your brush, and then just try your best to come straight down. And the very difficult part also is trying to get the same curve on both sides, all right? That can cause problems. If you're confident with sketching and drawing, then you can do this. If you need a stick to support your hand, then by all means use a little stick. You can see the blue coming through there, can't you? I hope you can. There's a kind of an undertone of purple, isn't there? Showing through that canvas. Okay, let's keep going. This is nerve-wracking because once this goes on, it's very difficult to fix it if you make mistakes. That's the issue. So I'm going to just get kind of the base of this, the neck of the bottle in. I won't worry about the top piece of the bottle, not for a while. I'm just worried about getting both sides equal. You see what I mean? But let's just take our time and do this. Let's just take our time with this. It's, you know, there's no pressure with us. No pressure whatsoever. You take all the time you need. Let's just fill all of this in now. I just want to get the basic shape of the bottle done. Now you see that little bit of white, tiny bit of white there. We can fill that back in with our background later on. We can soften our background back across all of that. I might even do it there in a moment and just show you. So you think of the bottle done, right? Okay, the shapes look okay. Are we happy enough with that? Let me see now. Maybe there's a slight. It's probably turned to one side slightly, is it? Maybe just a touch. So we could maybe just come out slightly more up here and bring that down straight again. That will allow me to cover there. And then I could bring the bottom just out slightly, tiny bit more. Just widen the bottom slightly. That will adjust the angle of the bottle for me. Well, it should, in theory. Now let's get some black. I'm going to pop some black in to that bottle. You see what the black is on the bottle, where it's very black, and you leave the spots where it's highlighted and there's reflections. Let's just paint the black wherever we see the black. It comes down like this. And it's no harm to leave if you see little bits of lighter colour, that's fine. That can be your reflection. Look, we come down like this with the black. Comes right down, doesn't it? We have a light spot here for reflection. So again, let's just go with the black. And you can see on the photograph, there's a bit of a V up here, isn't there? Which is just black. Again, use your small brush if you're a little apprehensive about using these bigger brushes. I like using these bigger brushes because it means I'm not fidgeting as much. It just keeps it simple. Okay, a little bit of black here. Comes around. And we have, I'm just using paint now, no thinners, okay? A nice bit of a black down the solid edge down here. And along here. So I don't know now if you can see the various shades. You see how I'm just putting in the black where I see the black. And I'm now going to put in some lighter blues wherever I see the blues. I think this will look quite nice when it's finished, especially with a nice bright white frame on this. It's really going to stand out on the wall, isn't it? Let's get some phthalo blue and a little bit of white. It's only a very subtle blue now. It's still quite dark, and a little bit of magenta. Let me show you what I mean. So we have this very soft kind of purple coming down here like this, and then leave it disappear off. Now you can see that one. It's quite nice, isn't it? And then it comes kind of straight down, doesn't it? Just follow your shapes, really. Just follow the shapes that you see. I'm following the curves I see. Okay? This is, here we go now again, look. Bring it down and then lift off. So that could be one side, done. We can put some of this colour, it's nice, it's a nice colour actually. Put some of this down here. Okay, you can see we have bits of that colour, and I'm using the rough bristles on my brush then to just put little flicks. So it's almost softening into the bottle, okay? Now I'm going to go a little bit lighter and softer. So a bit of phthalo blue, white, and a touch of Naples yellow. That touch of Naples yellow will soften the colour for me, ever so gently. I'm just going to flick it up like this. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of that soft greeny blue to the back as well, just a touch. Very gently flick it down. Okay, like so. Now you can kind of adjust all of these. You can soften them. If they're too strong, you can soften them back in. You can mess around with these colours. Might take a bit of more phthalo blue, just pop a little bit. You see, I'm going outside the box now. I'm just adding extra. And I probably shouldn't be, but I am. I'm going to take now a palette knife. Oh no, I won't. I'll take my soft blender brush and soften these just ever so gently back together, okay? Next, I'm going to take a small detail brush. Now this is a lot of fun. I love painting like this. It's so much fun because you see how easy it is. It's just a few brush strokes here and there, but don't overdo them. I'm going to put a little bit of detail in here. So we have a little black line here, for example, and then it curves, comes across. We have another little one here. This is only just to suggest little details. You see what I mean? Again, go up here and we'll just make that nice and sharp. I probably need to use a bigger brush for this, but it's fine. It's fine. Come on. Let's just have a bit of fun with all of this. I'm going to put in little curves here. That just accentuates the curvature of the bottle and the reflections. Okay? Now you can see it all just starting to make sense, a little bit of sense. The next thing I want to do is take my palette knife. Let's get some bright white. Now watch. Watch how this suddenly comes to life. We have a nice bright reflection up here, don't we? Now this is the wrong size palette knife for this, but it will do. Okay, now just get a smaller brush and I'm just going to fill in the shape of that. Let me just make sure my brush now is nice and flat. There we go, nice flat brush. See the shape? It's like a strange square. It's like a bent square, isn't it? Something like that. Okay, then we have another bit of that bright white up here. So you can see it starts coming together. Now that is a bit thick, isn't it? It needs to be a little bit dark, a little bit smaller than that. I'm going to just take off some of that paint. So I'm going to show you now how I fix my mistakes. Okay, I'm just scraping off some of that. Get some black. Let's get some black on this. I'm going to fill in that V first. Then I'm going to go across the top of this with my black. Down around like that. See, it's easy to fix these little things. Don't think because maybe you've made one mistake that it's ruined. No, it's not. It's fine. You just have to put more paint on, that's all. Now, more black. Let's go up here and darken the neck of this bottle. Okay. Steps out a little bit, doesn't it? Okay, now, this is all the early stages of this work, all right? This is very, very early on. Let's get some blue, some black and some white. Do the lighter side of these. And then soften it into the darker shade, look. Very gently. Drag them together. We have our highlight on our bottle on the outside. Now, if you still think that's a little bit strong, you see the way that looks a little bit too much for the highlight. We can soften it down with a bit of blue maybe. Now, soften around the edges as well. And that maybe looks a little bit better, doesn't it? We also have a little bit of a highlight down just below that. You see, I'm just working through now my highlights, my little highlights here and there. You see, I'm just working through them very gently. Scrape it on very gently, like so. Just little bits, little small bits of highlights. Then we have a lovely splash of red down there, don't we? You see that lovely splash of red we have. Let's get some cadmium red on our palette. And I'm going to take that same brush, make sure it's nice and clean, go right into my red. And let's put a splash of red down here and soften it into that background colour, very softly. And you see what happens, it just merges together and it gives you this lovely splash of red on the bottle. Let's get a bit more, just for the centre. Nice bright thick paint. And if you look closely, you can also see an impression of the wine glass reflecting on this. So I'm going to take a bit of blue and a bit of white. I'm going to come down like this and just very subtly show maybe the reflection of the wine glass, the stem part of the glass, just reflecting in this bottle. Just like that, look. So you begin to make out the reflection of the wine glass. It's very subtle, but it's there. Now, how are we doing with all of this? We're not doing too badly so far, are we? I'm going to take some black. I'm going to put some black here. Like so. I'm going to put a black line here for the sticker, just to suggest that sticker, okay, because we have a sticker on the top of the bottle there. A little bit up here. A little bit there. And we seem to have a little bit of a greeny goldy sort of a colour as well. So, some Naples yellow, a little bit of magenta, maybe try a touch of Phaylo blue. I'm going to just put that up here. It could be just, let's just take a touch of brown as well in there. It could be just a suggestion of the label, you know what I mean? It's just a little bit of a colour on the label. Phaylo blue, Naples yellow, a little bit just here. A little bit there. Okay. All these little things now I will adjust as I'm going, okay? Not to worry. I'm going to try some burnt umber over that, just to warm it slightly. Okay, it's only just tiny, tiny suggestion. Look, it doesn't matter if you don't put these little things in. It really doesn't, okay? Now, we also have, just to catch the top of the bottle up here, put that dark in like so, and then a little bit of a light blue again down underneath that. And my friends, our wine bottle then is almost finished, I would think. It's nearly finished. The last thing I want to do is just perhaps get the reflection of this in. Now remember what I was saying earlier about the reflections. Let's put a reflection of this in and see what happens. Let's take some black and some blue. And I'm simply going to drag in the very same order, very same lines, some of that down. Bit of blue, bit of magenta. Man, let's get a bit of a purple in here. Bring a nice dark colour down. Now these could even soften together, okay? We don't have to show where they meet. So we have that nice dark there. Get a bit of black, put some black in where you see the darks, okay? So nice dark colour here. And then we reflect the lighter colours. So let's get some Phaylo blue and a little white. Now this will be a bit deeper in colour, okay? A little bit of magenta. And let's just pull that down. wherever you see those lights. Take a bit of a lighter shade. And just a couple of lines here and there, look. Now already, can't you see, it looks like a reflection. Let's bring a little bit here for that glass. See where the glass turns? Now, if all goes correct, by right, this should soften down and it should look like a reflection. If all goes well. I'm going to bring them up together, look. Let's soften this down. Soften it right into that table behind, okay? And then go across the reflection very gently. And I think that looks like a little bit of a reflection, don't you? I think it does. We take a tiny touch of white and just pop a little bit of white through that paint, just here and there. Just to highlight it that little bit more. Just a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit, okay? And there we are, my friends. I'm also going to just soften the red maybe just a touch. Up and down. And then with my small palette knife, then I'm just going to dab a tiny touch of red in the center of that. Tiny touch of red, come on. Let's make it really bright. Okay? Now, you can go bigger with this or small or whatever you like. It's up to yourself. There we go. Now, I don't think that's a bad wine bottle, do you? My friends, I'm going to say thank you very, very much for watching. We will continue now with some of these little highlights and stuff later on, okay? The white here, for example, look, we could brighten that up with the knife. Just add a tiny touch of that white. Give it a very, very dazzling highlight. Like so. So you can kind of mess around. Mess around with little things like that, you see what I mean? There we are. Part 1 finished, the wine bottle is done. Zoom in and take a look. There we are. That's not bad, is it? Once the wine glass comes into play, now we will add darks again over this. We can add black and all of that later on. But for now, I'm quite happy with that. I'm quite happy with that. That's not bad. Okay, we can add little darkness to that, and we can add more shadow, we can add more highlights later on, but let's get the wine glass painted and we'll see what it looks like then. That red, that deep burgundy red in the wine is going to really bring this picture to life, I think. I'll be right back with part 2, my friends. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you've learned something, okay? Thank you so much. I'll be right back, don't go anywhere.